It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.
Welcome to EdTech Mondays Nigeria, a platform that facilitates critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning in Nigeria. As digital transformation accelerates, the role of technology in education has become more crucial than ever. However, while EdTech adoption in Nigeria is growing, its implementation remains fragmented and inconsistent across the country. In the first part of this discussion, we examine the current state of EdTech integration, assessing existing frameworks, policies, and barriers to adoption. Building on that foundation, this second part will focus on standardization, equitable access, teacher training, impact measurement, and collaboration, all essential for creating a structured, scalable, and effective EdTech ecosystem. The discussion will explore practical steps towards developing clear standards, implementing sustainable strategies, and establishing robust monitoring mechanisms to ensure that technology meaningfully enhances learning outcomes across Nigeria. Today, I am joined by Nurudeen Lawal, who is the team lead and founder of Quality Education Development Associates, CADA. He drives sustainable and scalable solutions for quality education across Africa, working with governments and organizations on key reforms in EdTech and youth development. He has held key positions including Chief of Party on USAID-funded projects such as Learn to Read, Northern Education Initiatives, amongst others. His expertise spans education policy, teacher development, and crisis response programs. Welcome today, Nurudeen. Also joining me today is Ezinne Tochie-Asogwa. She's a seasoned education professional, currently serving as the Deputy Managing Editor of Instructional Design at New Globe Educational Services, a global leader in educational solutions. In this role, she is key in developing and disseminating educational content and strategies to enhance learning outcomes across multiple countries. Hello, Ezinne Tochie-Asogwa. It's good to have you here. So join me today to welcome Tochie and Nurudeen Lawal. Welcome to the EdTech Mondays show. Thank you so much. This week, we'll be continuing the conversation we've been having for the past 2 weeks, evaluating the state of EdTech integration in Nigeria. And before I jump right into our major question, I'd like to have a feel, for what you think about the state of EdTech integration in Nigeria. Are you doing enough? Or are we not doing enough? So you go first.
For me, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
And the main reason for taking that position is because we've been too scattershots and we are not aggregating the efforts enough.
Yeah.
I do believe that a lot of efforts have been made, a lot of investments have been infused into the system. We are talking at the right places. We are represented at the right places, but how have we been able to use it to improve learning at scale and in sustainable ways? I think those are the questions we should be asking ourselves. Lots of solutions out there. How have we bring them together? How have we evaluated them? Have we been able to make it to be scalable and sustained in a very efficient way, looking at cost? And we'll talk more about that.
Tochie, can you say that?
Yeah, so completely I agree with you with regards to there's so much going on within the space, but the implementation is where I think we're missing it. So how do we implement it? And implementation is just one arm. Beyond the implementation, monitoring and evaluation to ensure that there's constant improvement. So there's so much we can still do, But I'd say we're just taking those baby steps, but there's just so much that's still yet undone.
Okay, so I would start with you on my next question. We've had two guests previously on this same topic, and one thing that was clear was the need to have clear standards, when it comes to EdTech integration. Because as you said, you're doing there's scattered shots, and we're just doing a lot of work. We're in the right places, we're doing so many things, but are we aggregating those energies to say this is a standard that needs to be adopted or that needs to be followed, sort of like a framework, to guide EdTech adoption? So, do you think we have clear standards for EdTech integration in Nigeria? I ask you because I know what you do and how you work in several states. What determines what you can do when it comes to EdTech integration?
Yeah, so the short answer to that is unfortunately no. We do not have a comprehensive framework that provides the guidelines as to how EdTech should be integrated in our schools, how they should be monitored, how it should be implemented. Unfortunately, we don't. We do have pockets of policies here and there, but that holistic framework on how to guide and drive the integration into our states, into our schools, unfortunately, we don't. So what it has cost is we have various private organizations, states adopting and implementing what they deem fit and just running by it. So our clarion call is to have a holistic document that is best cascaded from top to bottom, down to the various schools, down to the various states, that whereby there is one single framework, one holistic way in which EdTech can be integrated into our states.
Right.
For me, I think the story is around curriculum integration. And when we talk about curriculum integration, we are talking about um, everything, the whole gamut of materials you use and how do you use those materials, setting very specific learning outcomes that we want to achieve through technology. Technology is a tool for learning, is a tool in education. So it should not control education. And so for anywhere that this is going to be done rightly, you need to do a careful curriculum integration. What I've discovered is that a lot of the players in the system do make policy statements, those very wide policy statements that each one you make, when you drill it down, becomes it's not actually it's a nice statement, but drilling it down and saying let's get
What's
this
the
done,
next step?
let's move it, let's work, let's achieve this. Like if you look at the implementation, the ICT education implementation guideline, you see a very robust document. But honestly, if you pick one of them and say, let's drill it down and achieve this, it can take 10 years of good implementation to be able to achieve it. So my take is, do we have standards? I wouldn't say we do. I think it's there's no. Actually, there's this document somewhere that is called standards in ICT education, but I couldn't even lay my hand. Then as well, I couldn't lay my hand on that document. I do, and I've been looking for it.
So we don't have standards.
I won't say we.
We don't. So, going by what you both have said now, we do not have standards. We do not have standards. There are beautiful policy statements are pushed out. Would you then say that we have to sit down and really bring up or design the standard of this framework? Or what we have to do is perhaps bring together a think tank that is looking at existing policies that we have set out before now and try to pull out the different bits that really would impact on education and ICT in education and new technology for improving learning, teaching and learning, and see how we could redesign them or tweak them with our current realities to suit the purpose that we want, which is ethic integration, or we have to see that and start designing from scratch. And I say it because you have various players, in the EdTech ecosystem who are already doing work in various states, in various governments, and they have useful information to give that can be tied into the existing policies that we have. Like you said, the bit about ICT, right? And so many more that exist. So do we have to go back to basics? Or is it a case where we're looking at what exists already and tweaking, modifying, borrowing through evidence of people that have done work and see how we can remodel to fit our purpose?
My darling moderator, I'll tell you very straight that the documents that exist are good enough.
Yes.
What we can do as players in the system, and if we get the buy-in of government, is to go into those documents and drill down. Honestly, if you just pick one of them, maybe there's a section there's a thematic area called human development, and they have a list of activities that should be achieved under that implementation guideline. How do we achieve this? Let's discuss this. Has there been any discussion on how we want to achieve that? Apart from having that document, how many people know that that document exists?
So there's standardization there.
Have we been able to now come out and say, okay, we're talking about LMS in education. These are the specific guidelines for LMS in education for Nigeria, so that if anybody comes in and wants to do anything around that, it has something to be a guide for him. If you want to do assessment, if you want to do teacher training, all of those statements are there. But have you gone into the document to now drill down into specifics of how it should be done? The devil is in the detail, always. That's one of the greatest lessons I've learned in development.
No, so for me, I think it maybe to some extent, yes, we do have a document, a policy that contains all we need to know. It's a lot of robust statements made in those documents. So yes, I agree. We do need to drill down. But also for some as well, we might need to come back to the drawing board. So for me, it's not a clear cut. We just need to drill down. We might need to weigh our options. For certain policies, we'll need to go back to the drawing board really and just start afresh. But yes, we do have a good starting point because there is an existing document already. We can't reinvent the wheel. So rather than starting and wiping that or just throwing that in the background, I'll say that is a first. That should be the foundation. Let's look into it. Let's see what we need to do. But for some areas, we need to go back to the drawing board.
So I keep hearing something. We, who are we? Oh, there we. Who are the we that we are entrusting? Because that's the next level of conversation. Who are these we that need to do this work? Property. And I think I want you to be as detailed as saying, yeah, this person on these groups of this players in the ecosystem.
The present government, as that is one of its major agenda, it's called DOTS, which is data, and in data is a lot of technology, and they have the necessary thing they are pushing now by the Minister of Education, Dr. Nausa. I think when you're addressing the dots, you need to address the whole gamut of ICT also with it. For me, it should be driven from the top, because this document actually reside in the Federal Ministry of Education. And at the federal level, there are other, because ICT is cross-cutting, more or less. And so apart from all the agencies under the Federal Ministry of Education, there are outside agencies like NITDA, like so many other ones there, who will have to come in the discussion. And I think the real starts from there. And then a lot of the players that have been really working on the ground to implement. And then the academics that are always like, for me, they've been even edged out.
Yeah.
And I do believe that they have a lot to contribute. You see some of them on those documents being listed, but I'm sure maybe even their colleagues in the department does not know they've come for that workshop or for that conference or to contribute to whatever. So, we also include the international development partners, local organizations, and all of that.
I was going to say, so there's the human development part that's maybe, I think I should just pause there before. Let me ask this very pressing one. International development partners, when we say we are designing for EdTech integration in Nigeria, do you think that they will do justice to pushing what our agenda is and supporting EdTech integration on a contextual relevance basis for Nigeria, not for what they feel is practiced or is the standard elsewhere? Because here we're discussing standards for EdTech integration.
So the short answer to that is these international bodies would need to work with key stakeholders within Nigeria's space. So it's not a one plug fits all approach. No. So we understand the context in which we operate. We know what works and what doesn't. Even comparing Nigeria with our neighboring countries, we know the peculiarities of our nation. So for us to bring them in, we also need to leverage their expertise, but also our knowledge, bank of knowledge, our institutional knowledge, our context. And that means calling to play key stakeholders that understand Nigeria's context for it to fly. So to answer your question, we can adopt their framework, but we need Nigeria's key stakeholders to also function alongside that.
All right, great. And this will be my final question. Debate about, human resources, and I'm thinking the academics that you mentioned, are these people ready? Are they really capable to do the work that we need to do for defining these standards and coming up with a robust strategy or a robust framework for EdTech integration? Do you think they have been exposed enough to technology integration in their classrooms, in their career paths, that they can now support? So I'm thinking academics higher and even the ones in secondary and primary school level. Is that Jane? Both of you, learning never can grab into.
I would say learning never stops. So there must always be continuous professional development for them. They have EdTech has to be infused, integrated into teacher training programs and all that from the start as they're leaving schools, as you're thinking of joining into the teaching profession, into the education space. So EdTech needs to. So there is really no straight cut answer to say, are they ready? The issue is we have professionals, we have individuals that are filled with a lot of wealth of knowledge that understand what it means to integrate EdTech within our space. But the idea is there's always room to grow, there's always room for improvement. And so we just call upon constant professional development.
Great. Nurudeen, do you want to add something?
I would say I think I have 2 points there. One is we, and I say we now in terms of people within that we feel that we know the technology. We tend to forget that all of what we are doing started from some rudiments of instructional system, which these people understand very well. They might not know the technologies that have grown out of these and how they're being used, but they can quickly adapt and come up because they know the rudiments, they know the foundational knowledge. And in terms of are they ready? Yes, we might need to move them up because I'm still aware that some lecturers are still afraid of ChatGPT. I find that very funny. Like, no, my students are doing ChatGPT, and I'm asking, is that something you should be afraid of? You need to know how to use ChatGPT to make learning happen, not to be wary, not to be afraid. How have you integrated that into learning? It's a technology that will not go away. So how have you adapted to it so that meaningful and significant learning takes place?
Thank you. And to you, our listeners, would love to hear from you. What do you have to say about the state of EdTech integration in Nigeria? Do we have the appropriate frameworks or standards? Do you feel we have enough manpower expertise to look at what we have existing and to come up with a solid document, a roadmap, a system for good EdTech integration in Nigeria? We'd love to hear from you. Send us an SMS or a WhatsApp message to 0703 165 0809. Would love to get your feedback. The conversation doesn't stop here. I know you're having so much fun listening to Nurudeen and Ezinne Tochie-Asogwa. But we'll be stopping here this week. So join us next week as we take the last bit of this 4-part topic on integrating EdTech in Nigeria. Until I come your way, same time, same station, I remain your host, Chinyelu Akpa. Is bye for now.
It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.